You know how things work during these virtual sessions, no? You can always send it home, things like that.
Correct. The club has started the new trend now.
AskRavi.com.
You can do that. Oh, hi, Ram. Good to see you, man.
AskRavi.com.
Getting too used to getting packets home. Huh?
AskRavin.com. To send it
Vinod,
home.
Vinod, I have a guest, Thomas Stephen.
Yes, we said hello to him. He's here.
Yeah.
In fact,
Good evening, Mr. Mohan.
TV.
Good evening. Good evening.
Oh, TV is on. Good.
TV, thanks for clarifying that. I was wondering who Thomas Stephen was. Good to see you.
He is, I'll introduce him properly, but he's one of the part of the senior team in Anand Rathi.
Oh, good.
Very good.
So I head the preferred vertical of Anand Rathi.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Yeah, thank you, Thomas.
We happen to know Aarti, who's in Anand Rathi.
Aarti Desikan.
Yes.
Yes. They were one of the sponsors for Golf City, right?
Yes, Aarti works with the private wealth division of our business.
Yeah. She was there in the Golf City when Anand
Firdaus.
Rathi was there. Sponsoring.
11:30.
That's right. Yes.
All right. Let's get started.
Yep.
I call the 31st meeting of Rotary Bangalore Cantonment to order. May we all observe 1 minute of silence for world peace. Thank you all. Once again, welcome to each one of you. Wonderful to have you all back after a small break. We haven't had too many meetings. We had a small meeting last week for Republic Day at RHL. We had about 15-20 members attending. Today we have a very, very prominent and important personality amongst us, Mr. H.N. Srinivas, who's the former Senior Vice President of Indian Hotels and advisor to Tata Sons. Thank you, Mr. Srinivas, for making time to join us. Wonderful to have you with us, and we're looking forward to hear you speak. Also, a warm welcome to Thomas. Thomas, welcome back to our club, and hopefully we would like to see you as a member shortly in our club. And a warm welcome to our newest members, Madhu Chanda and Kyle, who have joined us today. Welcome, Madhu Chanda, and thank you for joining today's meeting.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, good evening. Hello, everyone.
So,
Hello, everyone.
January has been a pretty quiet month. I think most of us have been staying at home because of the COVID pandemic, which has been running a little bit of out of hand. I guess pretty much most of us have been safe and staying safe. The activities have been a little slow, but I think February is going to be pretty hectic. We're going to have a lot of fun time, back to a lot of fun times in February. We're having the cricket match with Indranagar happening on the 20th of February. You all know that we are the champions at this point of time. We are the defenders. So we got to go back there and win the cup again, win the tournament, win the match again. So looking forward to that. I think the details will follow shortly. Jasbir and Prashant are working on the details for the cricket match. On the 26th of February, we're having the vocational visit has been confirmed. And this time we are going to the Chitrakala Parishad. And I urge each one of you, we had a brief talk by the chief curator of Chitrakala Parishad, and it was a very, very interesting talk, and they have promised us a very wonderful visit out there. So please, I request all of you to register for this visit. It's on 26th of February. Once again, details will follow shortly. So a lot more activities planned, club services planning a lot of fun activities. And I think the avenues of service directors will be picking up rest of the activities which they had not started the project, which they had left behind. One such activity is going to be a meeting with the club in Jerusalem, led by our international service director. As you may be aware, February is the month of peace and conflict resolution. So Rohit is going to be busy this month, and one of his meetings is going to be the joint meeting with the Rotary Club of Tel Aviv or Jerusalem is what I think it is. Jerusalem. That's going to be on the 17th is what I understand. So let's stay tuned for more details on that. So a lot more activities coming up over the month. Stay tuned. We'll get back to a lot of service projects and a lot of fun together. May I now request our club secretary Nanda to make the club announcements.
Well, good evening, everybody. Well, as the president said, the activities have been a bit slow this month, but then the vocational services did have their second career counseling session. They held it for 38 students of the Guru Harkishan Public School and the Little Angels Model High School on the 29th of January. This was an online session. And the International Services Committee held their 7th meeting last Friday. And the Vocational Services Committee also had their meeting on Saturday, the 29th of January. Now, moving forward to birthdays and anniversaries that are being celebrated this coming week, Varghese celebrates his birthday on the 5th of February. And there are no Anns celebrating their birthday this week. But as far as wedding anniversaries being celebrated, we have Deepta and Asha celebrating their wedding anniversary today. And then we have Suman and Shankar celebrating their wedding anniversary on the 9th of this month. Let's wish all of them the very best of health, happiness, and peace in the years to come. Now, for the programs of the forthcoming week, the Board of Directors are having the 8th meeting on Sunday, the 6th of February. Rotarian Shabir and Ann Nas are hosting the meeting at the fellowship at lunch that will follow the meeting. There are no other committee meetings which are planned for this week. The next weekly meeting will be held online on Thursday, 10th of February. The details of this meeting will be announced shortly. The following meetings on the 20th and 26th have been announced by the President already. Well, that's the announcements for the week. Thank you.
Thank you, Nanda. So without any further ado, let's get our chief guest speaker today, Mr. Srinivas, to speak. Before that, I'd request International Service Director Rohit Karan to introduce Mr. H. N. Srinivas. Rohit.
Good evening, President Vinod, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very pleased to introduce our guest speaker for today, Mr. H. N. Srinivas. Mr. H. N. Srinivas has worked with the Tata Group for 29 years, of which 27 years has been at the Indian Hotels Company Limited, better known as the Taj Group of Hotels, growing up to the role of Senior Vice President, Total Quality and Business Excellence, and Senior Vice President, Human Resources. He was responsible for the people practice function at Taj and successfully built a customer-centric work culture through innovative employee engagement practices. He introduced several world-class HR practices and helped the company in adopting value-based and caring approaches for managing its staff, and helped the company in adopting managing its staff and which was acknowledged by the Gallup Group. This was acknowledged as listing Taj among the top 15 companies in the world and was the recipient of the Global Great Workplace Award for 4 consecutive years. This journey of building benchmark HR practices at Taj has become a Harvard case study. The Taj Group was also recognized with Tata Business Excellence Award based on the Malcolm Baldrige National Quality Award for the achievement of the highest standards of service quality, employee engagement, and customer excellence. Most noteworthily, Mr. Srinivas led the relief and rehabilitation operation under the aegis of the Taj Welfare Trust for terror victim families in the city of Mumbai post the 26/11 terror attack. Mr. Srinivas worked with Hewlett-Packard Global Delivery India Center as the Director of Human Resources for 3 years, heading the HR function for a workforce of about 10,000 employees. He is currently working with the Tata Institute of Social Sciences as the CEO of Vocational Skills Development that is focused on helping youth vocationally from weaker sections of society. So it's our privilege and pleasure to host Mr. Srinivas as our guest speaker for today, and we look forward to hearing his talk on leadership lessons during a crisis. Over to you, Mr. Srinivas. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Rohit. And thanks to Prashant for giving me this opportunity to interact with a very vibrant and active members of this club. What I'll do is I will talk about the crisis that Taj Hotels faced in 2008 November. And all of you know the entire country, why only India? The entire world is aware of the unfortunate terror attack that happened on Taj, and how the employees of the hotel that night and the next 2 days, they rose to the occasion. What kind of demonstration of leadership was seen, and what are some of the lessons that we learned from this crisis? So that is basically what I'll be covering. I've been told that I have some 35 minutes to present my thoughts and answers. So before I get into that episode of terror attack, I would like to place some facts and certain research outcomes. You know, we talk about the companies who face crisis very capably and very eminently and come out of the crisis. Which are those companies? Companies which demonstrate sustainability, companies which last longer. What it takes to build a company that lasts for over 100 years, 150 years, 200 years. You may be aware that in Japan, there are at least 500 companies which are over 200 years. There are 30 companies which are older than 500 years. They're still growing, expanding, and innovating, presenting new products and services in world markets world over. Their employee strength is growing in different countries. So what it takes to build a sustainable company, what is the foundation fundamentally one needs to look at, which is able to weather any storm, any crisis. And there is some unique strength in these companies. Some research studies have been carried out, and the two most prominent ones are by Professor Funabashi of Sirium Institute in Japan. He picked 100 companies which are over 100-year-old. And this was a seminal research he did for almost 15 years. He looked at some common thread. What is it? What is common among these companies which has lasted for over 100 years? 2-3 interesting findings, to cut the long story short, that he came up with was they had a unique, selfless way of building relationship with multiple stakeholders. If you take a business organization and who are the stakeholders for business, besides shareholders, who is a key stakeholder, there is customer, there is employee, there is a vendor, there is a supplier, there is a government system with whom you have to build a relationship, and there are other people with whom the organization is expected to build relationships. These companies which is studied had a very special, very empathetic, very graceful and dignified way of building lasting relationship. And whenever these companies got into a crisis, the entire ecosystem rises to help them, support them, and stand by them. That is one important conclusion they came to. The second interesting conclusion they came to is these companies have a long-term human value and purpose which is defined as their foundation. I think all of you will agree with me if I say that in India, Tata Group companies are one set of companies who have always practiced some fundamental values, basic foundational values. The purpose statement which was given by Jamshedji Tata 100 years ago also spoke about nation building. Ratan Tata more recently said, we want to contribute to enhancing the quality of life of people and building a strong nation. The values and the purpose have always been much larger than making profits, expanding, and becoming a bigger and bigger company. It was far more deeper. there is a purpose which is much higher. Much higher. There is a larger human purpose. It's a collective human endeavor. There is a customer, there are customers, there are employees, there are shareholders, there are suppliers, and all these people come together. If you look at an organization from 1,000 feet height, these people come together, relate in different ways, and make a contribution to strengthening the organization, to make the organization successful. And in return, they expect something. Each stakeholder makes a commitment and expects something from the company. Few companies empathetically understand what is it that he's expecting, what is his point of view standing in his shoes, and understand that and try to deliver as much as possible to keep him always happy and satisfied. A large number of companies, what they do is they keep one or two such stakeholder groups happy, and they start doing a bit of compromise on the kind of service they deliver, the kind of response they give for the demands of other stakeholders like society, community. See, communities in which you operate and the society, the country in which you run an organization becomes an important stakeholder. You need to understand what are the societal needs, community needs, in what ways can we satisfy them to the best extent we can. It could be a very limited thing, but we are aware of it and we would like to satisfy that. Just to give you an example, when Mr. Jamshedji Tata was building Tata Steel way back in 1890, 92, I'm talking about 130 years ago, he was traveling in interior jungles and forests of Bihar and identifies a location where he wants to build a steel mill. And the first set of consultants he gets from England, those days technical expertise in India was not easy to come by. And the first set of consultants, when he was traveling in the jungles of Bihar, he could see only the tribal settlements. There was not even a big town, besides Kolkata on one side and Patna and some of these well-established towns. He was traveling interior parts of Bihar, today what's called Jharkhand. Now, he could see the tribal settlements, and the first set of consultants who came to India for contributing to building Tata Steel were not structural engineers, were not metallurgists, were not people who are good in building a factory, construction, civil expertise. These are not the people. He brought to social scientists, Fabian sociologists called Dr. Sidney and Mrs. Beatrice Webb. They came to India to conduct a social audit in these tribal settlements in the jungles of Bihar to understand how we can hire youngsters, boys and girls of these tribal families, bring them to a faraway location, which is today called Jamshedpur, and put them in a skill school and train them to become employees of Tata Steel. See, it goes back 130 years. Their commitment and concern for building bridges with the community was so strong. The second incident I'll give, and then I'll move on to the story of the terror attack. When he was building the steel mill, he realized that technical expertise is not available in India. People who could work as skilled workers, unless they train them for a year, year and a half, 2 years, there are only 3 or 4 engineering colleges. I'm talking about 1890s. And so the thought came to him, we need to establish a science and technology research institute in India. And he traveled across the country requesting those princely state families, those kings and princes those days in Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, and Bihar, some of these locations. He goes to a royal family, requests them to donate some land and some money so that he can build a science research institute in India. All of them laughed at him and he said, India is a colony and India is being used as a raw material appendage to promote British imperialism, and only raw material goes into London, Manchester and Liverpool. What do you mean this pariah children wanting to learn science and technology? I think it is very, very fanciful, your thoughts. We can't support you for this. And he gets rejected by at least 15, 20 people and they laugh at him. And he meets with one youngster in Kolkata. He encourages him and he says, I think you have a brilliant idea. It's very inspiring. Why don't you go to these locations? You go to Mysore Maharaja, you go to Trivandrum, Martanda Varma and some of those people, and you talk to them, I think they get inspired with these ideas and they might get your dreams, fulfilled. He comes all the way those days to Maharaja of Mysore, Krishnaraj Wadiyar, and presents his ideas and thoughts. And Krishnaraj Wadiyar says it's extremely exciting and inspiring. The north side of Bangalore belongs, the entire land belongs to us. You can fence as much as you want. And I don't even restrict you to take only 50 acres or 100 acres. As much as you want, you can take the land. And this is my contribution of 10,000 rupees. Imagine those days, 10,000 rupees is not small money. So that is how he builds what today called science, and its status today in the world fraternity of academic institutions is it's the 20th or 22nd most reputed, respected technology institute, science research institutes in the world. Anyway, so the foundation for Tata Group has always been building bridges with society, with community, with the nation, with customers, with employees, all set of stakeholders, all groups of stakeholders. All of these are interest groups and systems who operate to make the company successful. And he had built a very strong and ennobling relationship with them. Now, how this got reflected when we faced a crisis in Taj, I'll take another 15 minutes and then you can. When the crisis happened, 4 or 5 well-trained commando terrorists, they barged into the lobby of Taj in the night at about 9:30. When the hotel was packed, it is full. It was a Wednesday, 26th of November 2008. And they were carrying AK-57 automatic machine guns, knapsack bags with full of explosives, RDX and full of explosives. One small speck of that explosive, can cause so much havoc. It's highly inflammable. So they were carrying all that and they barged into the lobby and opened fire indiscreetly, killing anybody who came in their sight. And we were taken by sudden surprise. We didn't know how to react and respond to this major crisis situation. But as you are aware that a hotel has a very big back area. There are at least 50 to 60% of employees of the hotel who work in back areas, in the engineering department, laundry, kitchen, and various other offices. Back areas, staff areas, canteen, they carry some 50 to 60% of the staff at any given point in time on a day. Only 50% will be in front line, the others are working in the back areas. So this is by housekeeping. So the back area people got to know that there is a crisis. They started doing some damage control work, and there is a humongous effort. That night, there are 540 employees inside the hotel during that shift. Not a single person left the hotel. On the contrary, some people who had gone out of the hotel walked into the hotel to join their other colleagues to face this major crisis. Within 15 minutes of the crisis happening, the chairman of the group, Mr. Ratan Tata, and the vice chairman, Mr. Krishna Kumar, they reach the hotel, the foyer, at the entrance of the hotel, and they were about to get in, despite seeing a terrorist standing with the AK-57 automatic machine gun at a distance in the lobby. Fortunately, there was police, and police prevented them from getting in. And one valet driver who was standing there when Krishna Kumar wanted to push himself and get inside, he went and fell on his feet, pushed him back so that Mr. Krishna Kumar lost his balance. He was our vice chairman those days. He lost his balance, fell down. There was some minor injury. He was shouting and screaming, "Why are you pushing me? Who are you? Who the hell are you?" And then he gets up and he drags Krishna Kumar to the other side of the road and he says, "Aap andar mat jana." And it's anybody's guess, if he had got inside, what would have happened to him. In the process, the door opened and he fell on the side of the lobby. He took a bullet on his shoulder. Now, why did he have to do that? He's a valet driver. I can give you a number of instances. This Unilever Corporation worldwide, they were doing a global leadership summit in Taj Mahal Hotel, Bombay that day. And they were having a cocktail dinner inside the hotel. And the global CEO of Unilever, incoming and outgoing, the CEOs of Unilever Corporation in different countries of the world, there are about 75 people. They were having their cocktail dinner and a message goes from security that there is a crisis in the hotel. Some miscreants have walked in and they're opening fire and killing people indiscreetly. And we have not been able to understand what is this going on. And it took some time for us. In fact, we initially thought the underbelly of Bombay, these mafia groups, they come and try to settle score with each other. There must be some crisis. We initially thought like that. It took about an hour for us to know that this is a planned terror attack by a neighboring country, and they're monitoring what's going on in the hotel. They must have put up a war room and a large screen to track whatever is happening here. And because they were carrying satellite phones, the terrorists were carrying satellite phones and addressing on Colonel Bashir and talking to the person. So all this has been recorded, and of course we gave it to Ministry of Home Affairs later. Now, so they were killing. The message went to the assistant manager who was in charge of this party of Unilevers, one lady called Mallika Jagat. And she was told there is a crisis in the hotel, switch off all the lights, lock yourself from inside, don't come outside. And if anybody knocks the door, please don't open the door. You can light just one candle, and the participant, the people who are inside, the guests must be getting into a panic. You be relaxed and take care of them. And at the right time, we'll call you and tell you on the cell phone that you may take them to a safer place in the back area through the kitchen, and they can reach President Hotel, which is a safer place as of now. So this Mallika Jagat, a 23-year-old management trainee who has been confirmed as assistant manager, she calls attention of all these senior leaders of Unilever Corporation, says, ladies and gentlemen, there is a crisis in the hotel. Some miscreants have barged in and they're opening fire and killing people. Me, in my capacity, my name is Mallika. I am in charge of this function. You can be rest assured I'll take you to a safer place. You don't kindly panic. Anything you require, you have to get in touch with me. I'll take care of you. I'm assuring you everything will be safe, and I'll take you to a much safer place, and maybe even President Hotel at the right time. I'm waiting for instructions. I'm getting updates regularly. So you continue your party, we can light a candle, and she switches off the lights and the candle is lit and the party but they're all in a panic and messages pour in, and they're no longer in a mood to continue the party as they were doing earlier, half an hour earlier. But she's answering all their questions. And at about 3 o'clock, when a message comes from security that you can bring them into the kitchen and they can go to the laundry area, there is a room, we can lock them in. At about 4 o'clock, we can bring them out and send them to President Hotel, which is what was done. They were all relieved, and they continued their leadership program in Spark Central Hotel in Parel in Bombay. It's an ITC hotel. And the Leena Nair, those days she was the head of HR for Unilevers in India, Hindustan Unilever. She contacts me and she says, Srini, we can't believe the kind of courage this girl, this young girl, 23-year-old girl demonstrated. And there is some lesson for us to learn from this crisis, the way she handled it. For all the senior leaders of Unilever, we want you to kindly send her to our leadership session. This is live demonstration of outstanding leadership by that girl. Kindly send her. The least we could do is to put her up on the stage, and all of us want to give her a standing ovation. It is because of her presence of mind we are all alive today. So when I called Mallika and told her, she was a little hesitant. She was telling me, sir, I can't speak good. If they ask me to give a long lecture and all that, I can't do it. I said, no, don't worry. You demonstrated outstanding leadership qualities. You can go there. They want to thank you for that. Please go. And she went there, and it seemed that with tears in her eyes, the CEO of Unilever Corporation Worldwide, global CEO, he comes on the stage and narrates the story, what Mallika did to them. And they all give her a standing ovation for 2 minutes. The others, one or two incidents I'll mention to you. The other most moving story that I came across, because letters started pouring in to me, to Mr. Ratan Tata, to Krishna Kumar, and to all other senior leaders, how employees kept their best foot forward, how employees rescued them from an almost confirmed death, and some of them even laid down their lives in the process. 3 chefs were killed when they formed a cordon to the guests who were in chambers, and all the 3 were assassinated. They were killed by terrorists. In the meantime, the guests escaped into the room and locked themselves inside, and they did not open. So these kind of incidents, I must have received about 50, 60 such letters, and Mr. Tata, Mr. Krishna Kumar, all of us have received because we didn't know what was happening inside the hotel. It's a huge, big place. That day the hotel was packed. All the banquet function halls were packed. Crystal room, ballroom, gateway room, everything was packed. There was a Bori Muslim wedding reception going on with about 700, 800 people in ballroom. And you can imagine, and 95% occupancy. Some very, very important VVIPs were there. 2 chairmen of banks, Mr. Ramurthy was then chairman of ING Vaishya Bank. A lot of people were there in the hotel. Now, so it so happened the terrorists moved from the lobby area in that corridor. I'm sure most of you must have seen the hotel Taj Mahal in Bombay. There is a corridor on both sides. There are restaurants and shops, and you go till the end. It is almost like 150 yards, 200 yards corridor. Now, the idea of this terrorists were to throw RDX into each of these shops so that it catches fire and the people who are inside come running outside and they rush towards the lobby, and they can quickly come back, 2 of them, and kill as many people as possible, and there could be very high casualty. They go into Harbour Bar, to throw the RDX, they realize there is a restaurant upstairs when they go through a spiral staircase. It's a Japanese restaurant called Wasabi. They throw some RDX, the entire restaurant catches fire. There are about 7, 8 guests who are sitting and having their dinner at 9:40, 10 o'clock in the night in Bombay, you can imagine. They're having their dinner. There are about 7, 8 employees, stewards and waiters who are serving them. And they throw the RDX and come down, and they're going to the next shop and the next restaurant. The senior most person there was one Varghese, Thomas Varghese. Thomas Varghese takes charge, standing in the fire, sustaining burn injuries. He calls out to all his friends, colleagues, all that we need to do is to cordon off and save all the guests first. Let them go through the spiral staircase. He's screaming, and go through the kitchen door at the end of the spiral staircase and go to the laundry, and please be waiting there. I will come and rescue you. I will take you to a safer place. They fall one over the other on the spiral staircase, and within 30, 40 seconds, some 15, 20 people have been evacuated from the restaurant. They enter the kitchen door. They're rushing toward it. It's all total panic, rushing towards the laundry. And this Thomas Varghese is he's standing in the fire and telling employees, you all employees should go now, and I will be the last to go. Now, what is this leadership called? And he's sustaining burn injuries. You can't stand in that fumes and flames that it's caused when RDX becomes inflammable. And now, as he's about to escape, the terrorists come back. One of them comes back and spray bullets in the body of Thomas Varghese. And the last guy who escapes sees Thomas Varghese falling in a pool of blood at a distance, and they're all going and waiting in the laundry area. At about 3:34 in the morning, security take them out, and they want to rescue them and send them to a safer place. And they're insisting on meeting Thomas Varghese's family, his wife. And the security and police people are warning them, don't go. The terror attack has happened in many locations in Bombay. We don't know what's going on in other places. So it's very risky to travel. He's staying somewhere in Mahim, because employees knew, some of them knew his house. The guests were insisting, no, the least we could do is to go and touch the feet of this lady whose husband saved our life. Otherwise, it's a sure short death for us. We'd have died. So they go, take a taxi, go all the way and hug the lady, and they had to break this most painful and horrible, disastrous news that the husband is dead. And she's sitting there, and Thomas's mother has come from Kottayam, the old lady. They all break down, and the 2 children, one is a 16-year-old son and the other one is a 12-year-old son. They're all hugging each other and crying, hearing this entire episode. Mr. Ratan Tata decides to meet the families of all the deceased employees and the injured employees. And he asked me, giving me 24 hours notice to get all of them wherever they are, book their tickets. If they're in north in Delhi or Calcutta or wherever they are. You need to arrange for cars. They should come to the nearest airport, take a flight, and come by tomorrow evening. They should be here. So that took some effort, and we got all of them. And he walks in. I still remember very distinctly at about 7:30 in the night, and he says, "Are all of these people here?" I said, "Yes, everybody has come." And Thomas Varghese' wife, Beena Varghese, it was the third or fourth person to meet Ratan Tata. We were all sitting in a suite, Mr. Krishna Kumar, Ratan Tata, and some of us, and getting them over and giving them some kind of a, telling them that we are here to take care of you, accepting, bringing back that old, that great man to life. Anything else you want, we are willing to support you. So this is the kind of assurance we wanted to give them, that support. So this lady comes and sits, she's continuously crying, and she says, "I'm not happy, I'm not unhappy, sir, I'm happy you came and met us. My husband has laid down his life and in the process of saving some 20, 25 people. And we're extremely proud of him. Extremely proud of him. If I had known my husband is such a great man, standing in the fire, sustaining burn injuries, saving others' lives," and she breaks down, cries, and says, "I would have looked after him better. And I will put his portrait in the living room, and I will train my children to look at him and practice those values at work." He enjoyed his work in Taj. He loved his company. He was extremely grateful. He felt that it is his own company. He was always, that was his first priority. Family was his second priority. So these were the values he practiced. We want to put his portrait in our living room and get my children to practice these values of commitment at work, service. And at the end, she says, money comes and goes. We need to practice values in life. So our eyes turn wet, whoever is sitting there. And when she leaves, for 1 minute, there is a deafening silence. Ratan Tata breaks that silence and says, "How do you explain this?" She stands so tall in front of us, I look like a pygmy in the kingdom of God. How do you describe this? You want to call it extremely good service, outstanding service, world-class service. All these words sound frivolous. They have laid down their life, saving customers and guests. So he says, what have you planned? How do you want to look after them? I prepared a list of things that we would do. And like giving his last salary as a pension for the rest of the life of the wife or the dependent, and lump sum money up front, and medical expenses, education expenses, children, a lot of things I put together. Ratan Tata takes a look and says, we should do much more than this. Much more than this. If this company belongs to them, who am I to claim that this is my company? This is their company. So I can keep on giving you multiple examples. I'll take just 2-3 more minutes and then conclude, so that in the interest of time.
Please be comfortable. Please go ahead.
Srinivas, you do have a lot more time. I think we'll give you as much time as we can speak. Please go ahead. Don't be restrained by time.
Yeah, no, because I was told I have 30 minutes time. I thought.
Please go ahead. We are all ears.
So, like I said, the senior leadership came and they were standing outside the hotel, and all of us stood there on 26th night at 10 o'clock, and we were watching this most disgusting and horrible, painful spectacle of fire gushing out of windows in all the floors, and flames and gunshot sounds and grenade blast sounds, and without having a clue what is going on inside, how many people are killed, how many are alive, and what has happened, and what kind of chaos these people have created, what slaughtering these guys have done. We had no clue, no idea. And the Marine Commandos came only at 12 o'clock in the night. And the Special Protection Group landed at 5:30 in the morning. They should have come within half an hour in any such important, it is a major crisis. It is a well-planned terror attack by a neighboring country, and clinching evidence and proof. The one miscalculation that this terrorist made was that they didn't know that we have CCTV cameras all across the hotel. the complete movement of terrorists from one location to another, kitchen, rooms, and back areas, housekeeping, engineering, everything was captured. And all these, the data, details, these dockets were given to the Ministry of Home Affairs by us. So for them to, construct the story that's required. 1 second. So on the third day, we were allowed to get inside the hotel. But the one Lieutenant General Abhay Gupta. You don't know. Some people are nice. Some people remember. Some people are so fucked up.
Someone's mic is off. Please mute all mics, please. Thank you.
James.
Please mute mics. Thank you.
Yeah, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
So on Saturday, this incident, like I told you, happened on a Wednesday. 3 days later, the person who was commanding this came out and he said, we have lost 4 soldiers, including Major Unikrishnan and 3 other, 2 Lance Nayaks and 1 captain. And these are the people who laid down their lives, and their bodies were brought out. And one by one, the bodies were coming out, and some, people who were being carted out, we could see there is still life. We were rushing them to the hospitals and all that. And the Major General Abhay Gupta comes out and says, you can come inside and see what has happened, and you cannot, you can sit in the lobby and don't move anywhere inside. And we went into the lobby. It was looking like a ravaged battlefield. Everything was torn, everything was broken, and it was in tatters. The entire hotel was in tatters. They had completely destroyed everything. And we sat there, the international media, the domestic media, the Indian media, regional media, there were about 100 press people standing there near the gateway of India and screaming and shouting for us to make a statement what's going on inside. We had no clue. When we got inside, Colonel Abhay Gupta said, you can't go anywhere inside the hotel because we're getting sniffer dogs and we are combing the entire hotel, back areas and all that. We don't want any explosives. They've hidden somewhere, and it kind of it causes more casualty, and we want to prevent that. And you give us some 6-7 hours. We are waiting for the dogs to arrive. So we will not let you go inside. You can sit here. You want to have a meeting, you can have a meeting here. And what meeting can we have? These press people were all screaming. Ratan Tata comes out and he says, okay, they don't keep quiet. I have to give them some standing statement. And he stands at the footstep of the, the porch, car arrival area. And they're all gathering there, and he addresses them and he says, look here, these people have hurt us, no doubt. I think he was referring to the country and to Tata Group, to Taj Hotel, or the city of Bombay. These people have hurt us because the terror attack has happened in about 15 locations, and but they can't beat us down. Within a month, we would like to open the hotel and it's business as usual, and employees will come back wearing their uniform and serving the guests and customers. And customers were pouring in letters to us saying that as soon as it opens, like a demonstration, we would all like to come and stay in your hotel. We would all like to come back and use your restaurants. Whatever you open, even if you open one restaurant, we want to pack the restaurant from morning till night. Letters used to come to us like that. And there were so many people who wanted to stand by us, help us, support us. So we realized there is a certain thing that is working, some brand image or, the kind of relationship we had built with the customers, the values of Tata Group, the purpose with which they worked, a fundamental human purpose of serving communities and society. All this is repaying us in some manner. What other conclusion one may draw? He addressed the press and he said, yes, they have hurt us, they can't beat us down. And it is, we are going to open the hotel as soon as possible. I understand terror attack has happened in about 12 to 14 places in the city of Mumbai. I am now making a statement formally that for all terror victims in the city of Mumbai, Tata Group is going to set up a program office to provide relief and rehabilitation for terror victim families. Just not what has happened in Taj Mahal Hotel. That day it happened in Leopold Cafe. Chhatrapati Shivaji Station was the worst attack. Some 70 people died and 150 people were injured in the Chhatrapati Shivaji Station. Then Kama Hospital, Boribandar, Muhammad Ali Road, Santa Cruz, and Nariman House, Oberoi Hotel. The terror attack happened in about 12, 13 locations. He said all the terror victims, we will get all details and provide relief and rehabilitation from Tatas. Then some, press people asked him, government, we are not interested in listening to that question or answering that question. If government does something, they're welcome. I mean, they should do it. They're doing it, and we're sad. But Tatas will do it. We are also going to do that. And he looked at me and said, we need to set up a trust. I will push some money into this trust, and you start the work of rehabilitation. I rushed to Tata Institute of Social Sciences, got a pool of 25, 30 volunteers or PhD students. We formed 5-6 teams. We set up employee relief centers, and all terror victims, just not the Taj employees. They could visit the relief centers. We collected all the data. We'll give them food. We give them medical, treatment and medical care and counseling. We got in touch with the Art of Living people in all these 6-7 relief centers. They were running, the yoga camps. Exhaustive rehabilitation work was undertaken by Tata Group, and that was implemented in the city of Bombay for almost like 1.5 to 2 years. A lot of people got subsistence allowance. 150 employees, dependents of the deceased, got a subsistence allowance of 10 to 15,000 rupees every month. Some of them were given microfinance to set up their own business. 150 people, dependents of the deceased, were identified, taken by Taj. We trained them in Taj Landsend and gave them jobs in Taj. And medical centers were set up. We had tied up with Bombay Hospital for any medical treatment by any of these families. It should be given to them, and we will pay the bills. A whole lot of rehabilitation and relief efforts were implemented in Bombay for the terror victims. When he was announcing this, one of my director colleagues was standing next to him, told Mr. Ratan Tata, sir, we don't have the correct figures yet. And we are gathering it from the Director General of Police Office, and also Mr. Rakesh Maria was the Commissioner of Police. Rakesh Maria is to give us the complete names of terror victims, and we are gathering all that. It will take another couple of days to get all this. So he looked at him and said, why are you telling me all this? No, because we don't have a clear estimate of what is the commitment we are making. He didn't like that answer. He said, are you aware of how much Bombay city has done to this company? How much we have benefited in the last 100 years for us to be what we are? Not just the Taj Hotels, but the Tata Group. When the city is crying, they're in pain. Should we count the money or just stand by them and give them relief, rehabilitation and support, wipe those tears and help them to recover? Whatever it takes, I'm going to do. I am not counting my money now. I don't want to know how much it costs. Whatever it costs, I'm going to do. Now, why I'm saying this is because if a certain reputation of values, if a certain foundation of, like I said, a larger human purpose, we're a human collectivity and we have certain roles and responsibilities. We respect each other, we care for each other, we are empathetic, we listen to them, and we also try to support them in whichever way we can, whether it is customer, employee, shareholder, or community and societies and the nation. Always a nation building contribution has been made by Tatas in the form of building an educational institution like Tata Institute of Social Sciences. I told you about Indian Institute of Science. I told you there is a young man who asked Jamshedji Tata to go to Krishnaraj Odiyar in Mysore. that young man from Calcutta who advised Jamshedji Tata to go to Mysore was none other than Swami Vivekananda. It has got the blessings of Swami Vivekananda and the inspiration of Jamshedji Tata to build a national institute for the children of the so-called, within quotes, a pariah country children, which was a colony of a British Empire. Those days, he ventures and he builds a world-class institute. We recently built 12 hospitals, cancer hospitals in India. The largest cancer hospital in India is in Bombay, what is called as Tata Memorial Cancer Hospital. It's the largest cancer hospital. We built one in Kolkata. We built one in Kerala. There is a general hospital. There are about 6 general hospitals in Kerala we have built and 3 are in Munnar. Munnar General Hospital is a famous hospital. Many of you who have visited Munnar will know. And near Chotanikara, in the outskirts of Cochin, a hospital has been built, general hospital with 120 beds, and that is built by Tatas and run by Tatas. So we are currently, I am engaged in a program of building a national skilling institute to train over a period of 4 or 5 years, 2 lakh youth in vocational skills for building their livelihoods. There will be one campus in Ahmedabad, one campus in Bangalore, and one is coming up in Bombay. 65% of all Tata Group is owned by trusts. And the monies, the dividends that come into the trust is used for charity work. Every year, 2,000 crores of money is used for charity work. And we actively work with a number of government departments, regardless of what is the color of the government which is running this country. That is immaterial for us. It is nation building, regardless of who runs the country. So we build hospitals, we build educational institutions, we create endowments and provide scholarships. 500 scholarships are given to Indian youth to study in outside of India, in predominantly in America and UK. So a lot of this charity work goes on day in and day out. So it is these values. So if we look at leadership lessons, the lesson that we learn is if you are capable of building lasting relationship with your stakeholders, if you are rooted in some fundamental human values as an organization, and practice those human values, there is a demonstration effect of those human values. And if you are empathetic, if you are concerned about the requirements and needs of the nation and the government and also the society, and you creatively respond to these needs, I think there is always a payback that happens for us. And we realized it is definitely going to happen. And these are some of the lessons that organizations can learn. When they're building companies, they need to look at, various people who are working in the organization. Like I said, it's a collective human endeavor. We need to look at the needs and requirements of each of these people and come up with a company program and deliver on certain commitments and promises for all these sections of people in a manner that they are all feeling very committed, they are happy, and they're delighted to serve your organization. Attrition in Tata companies as compared to any other competition companies is always some 30-40% lesser. TCS attrition is 11%, whereas Infosys and Wipro competition, other companies, Accenture, Cognizant is in the region of 15 to 17%. This total workforce of TCS is something like 5.5 lakhs now. And they have posted last year 38,000 crores in net profit, cash on the table. So companies grow, companies expand. There are lessons we learn from this kind of crisis. We had multiple crises. We had tsunami. It almost submerged a hotel in Maldives, and we recovered from that. And this was, of course, a very, very major and very big catastrophe. There has been explosions in some factories and all that which have recovered. So whenever there is a crisis, the entire community, the society, the customers, the employees, they all stand together as one team, as one group, and face the crisis and help the organization to overcome the crisis. So I conclude my talk by saying, it's all about contribution to the lives of people. contribution, are you consciously contributing to the lives of people who are associated with you? That becomes a key question. Now, I am reminded of Albert Einstein's famous quote. I'll quote now, quote, 100 times a day I remind myself that my inner and outer life, what is today, is made of the contributions made by a number of men and women, some of whom are alive and many are dead. This reminds me that I should exert myself in order to give in the same measure as I have received and as I am receiving, as I will continue to receive. Unquote. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Srinivas, for a wonderful talk. Honestly, let's just unmute and give a very big round of applause to Mr. Srinivas. Thank you, Mr. Srinivas, for that. Was really absolutely heartwarming to hear such brilliant incidents from one of the most terrifying situations that India has been in. And it's so lovely to hear what the Tata Group and Mr. Ratan Tata did in the situation, which gives us some lovely but very basic lessons that every small organizer, small or big, should learn in terms of how to get that loyalty and that dedication of employees. Absolutely brilliant. We have a few minutes. We can take a couple of questions. May I open out to the members for a few questions, please? Please raise your hand if you want to ask a question to Mr. Srinivas.
More than a question, I just wanted to add one small experience. Can I?
Yeah, please go ahead, Jacharya.
So in 1973, he was just mentioning about the Chotanagara hospital, which was a small hospital run at that time. We were all in raw track. We were not very clear about the Tatas being involved in it. And there was some discussion about that hospital not having electrocardiogram. And we as the raw tractors, students went and contributed one. And they were so surprised. They said, this is a Tata run hospital. Nobody gives us, we give. So that was a big surprise. But believe it or not, very next year, I was president and the Tata Oil Mills came up and contributed 20,000 rupees for our programs. So it was a wonderful experience. I just wanted to add that.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Questions, please. Anybody else? Yes, Jasbir, please unmute and speak. Jasbir?
You're muted. Yes, sir. Can I be heard now?
Yeah, please go ahead.
See, one very important point which you very clearly brought out is that the way the Tata Group is run is because of the trust. But how many organizations or corporations can have that type of setup which Tata has? See, after all, in other companies, there are a lot of stakeholders. Everybody wants to have profits. They want to grow. They want more money, etc. So can you say that the Tata model can really be replicated elsewhere?
See, there are quite a few companies. I should be honest and I should be fair in my comments. There are quite a few companies who are almost as close to Tata's. So for instance, Wipro is doing an outstanding job. Hats off to Azim Premji and his team and the foundation. The kind of work they do is really, really very, very admirable and progressive. And like I told you, this Professor Funabashi of Sirius Institute, when he was asked this question, profits becomes extremely important. You mean to say we should not make profits and all that? He said, see, the question doesn't arise. Profits is like oxygen for the body. The body will not survive without oxygen. You have to breathe first. But human beings are born just not to breathe. I mean, the question of your making profits, there's no question. I mean, you have to make profits. But you are born to achieve something great. There is something more. You need to look at the larger canvas of what can we achieve. There are so many people in our country who have demonstrated in their life some outstanding, stupendous achievements. Take Mother Teresa, take Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, and a number of great leaders. Our professor, famous Korean in Anand, NDDB, and Sridharan, who did the metro. There are people, MS Swaminathan. There are people who have made a contribution where all of us have to stand up and salute them, and they are national heroes. There is something, organizations also can make contributions, just not make profits. They can look at a much larger, bigger purpose, participate in nation building in whichever little way, whichever small way they can. There are quite a few companies who are doing it, and some are doing it exceptionally well. Some are doing it. See, the very structure of Tata Group companies set up by Jamshedji Tata. It's a very unique thing. Some professors of American universities, when they come and study this, they're stunned. Who created this model? What was this? The strategic intent. We said, look at this word strategy is only 30-year-old or 50-year-old. When Jamshedji Tata set it up, it came from his heart that he needs to serve people. It was a spontaneous thing. And when Rohit Deshpande, professor from Harvard, who came and did a case study of this, and it is a very well-visited case, very popular case study in Harvard Business School about what happened in Taj Hotels, the HR practices of Taj, and the commitment and loyalty demonstrated by employees. Some of these things, it's a story there. He asked me what kind of training programs you do, what are your recruitment policies, what is your HR strategy? I said, look here, HR strategy and the training programs I have done. If I say that is because of that, whatever you have seen, the way employees have demonstrated their enormous sense of commitment and they have laid down their lives, and all this has happened because of our training programs and HR strategy, I'll be fooling myself. It is a leadership demonstration of selflessness for generations. From Jamshedji Tata, J.R.D. Tata, Ratan Tata, in between Dorabji Tata, they have built institutions of national importance and national excellence. They have served the nation. Business was seen as a conduit to serve the nation. And they have done it extremely selflessly. Selflessly. Jamshedji, when J.R.D. Tata was not a rich man. When he died, he lived in a 2-bedroom house. Ratan Tata lives in a slightly bigger house, about 4,000, 5,000 square feet house in Kolaba. And he is not a very rich man. He doesn't appear in any of the list of rich people of the world, rich people of India. He doesn't appear anywhere. All the money goes into public service, charity and philanthropy.
Very unique model.
Brilliant.
Absolutely. Yeah, Vinod, can I ask a question?
Yep. Go ahead, TV.
Yeah. Mr. Srinivas, thank you very much for a very enlightening insight into what really happened. We've seen movies, we've read books, we've seen the newspaper and the media reports and all that, and we came out absolutely awestruck by the commitment shown. But one of the great values of the Tatas, which I've always wondered, is the very high sense of ethics. How do you manage to keep yourself as a conglomerate in India with a corruption index which is most lamentable worldwide, in a country with that sense of ethics and compliance? What is it that makes your code so different?
No, I'll answer it in 3 parts. One is there is a clear demonstration by senior-most leaders, the way they lead their lives. There is a demonstration effect. They lead very simple lives, number one. And that percolates, that cascades on all the CEOs, because CEOs are in constant touch with the chairman, and chairman, they see the way the chairman talks, chairman does, chairman takes decisions. They're participating in these things. And whenever there is a situation where he has to compromise on values, Tatas have never looked at money. They just walked out. There was a situation where Tata should have established an airline in 1994, 95, 96, 97, during that period. And this is all in public domain now, and it's not a secret. And for a certain reason, they did not do it. They were already signed MOU with Singapore Airlines, and we were about to set up an airline in 97. Ratan Tata just walked out of that project after spending 100 crores. for a certain reason, something which is similar to what you're saying. And in Singrur, we had put 1,000 crores. And there is a chaos and mayhem that was created, political. So he said, good luck, and I don't care. You know, we earn money, we spend money, that is not, but we let us stick to our values. And he went and established the motor car company, its factory for Nano in Sanand, in the outskirts of Ahmedabad. It's about 30-40 kilometers to Ahmedabad. He completely shifted everything. He established there, and he abandoned 1,000 crore plant, which is 70% ready. Most of it, he just left it there, did not ask for money to be given back, nothing. He just moved out. So, number one. Number two, there is what is called Tata Code of Conduct, which Ratan Tata introduced, and he made it mandatory for all people to abide by that conduct. And he introduced what's called audits, TCOC audits, Tata Code of Conduct audits, which is being carried out by the central Tata Sons office. Every year, one mystery audit gets carried out to check whether the compliance with Tata Code of Conduct, what is considered as ethical, what is considered as deviation from ethics and norms and values. What is, for instance, Ratan Tata has repeatedly tell us, I have given permission to all of your people to recruit your HR people, your senior leaders, to hire as many people as you want in whatever capacity. But if you have to sack one employee, well, I would like to know why you're doing it. He can't go home and tell his wife and a 5-year-old daughter, I was sacked by Tatas for no fault of mine. That can't happen. He introduced once, it so happened, there were 1 or 2 deaths in Tata Steel plant. And he said, this is extremely serious. Extremely serious. Inside the plant, if this happened, he brought DuPont, they were number 1 in the world those days for safety training. He brought them, spent some 27 crores to get their consulting, and he trained all employees in safety measures. And he instructed all companies, safety first. If we can't provide safety for our employees, customers and others, what are we here for? After this terror attack, we hired the most prominent intelligence agency of the world. All of you know what I'm saying. I don't have to mention the name of that. The most active and most efficient professional intelligence agency of the world. He hired them and he got them to do training for all senior people in Tata Group. In fact, I was anchoring that training. So, code of conduct is implemented. Values, human values and importance we give for human suffering and all that is very seriously taken. Nobody can mess around with people. And one complaint because of that, the flip side of that is it is seen sometimes inefficient. We don't take action at the right time against employees and sack them. Inefficiency is tolerated. He says, I don't mind that reputation. I don't mind. I can't just, shoot from the hip and, like a Robin Hood and, I don't want to behave like that. And human beings are not here to come and make a contribution to Tatas and all their life and the end of it suffer because of our mismanagement. So he's very, very clear about his commitments, his values, how he practices. He keeps on talking about it in multiple forums. It gets into the DNA of the company.
Thank you, Srinivas.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I don't think we have too much time left. Maybe we can take one quick question because we'd like to utilize Mr. Srinivas's time as much as possible. Anyone for a quick question? Brief one. Okay, here's one now, Mr. Srinivas. Most of us here are small entrepreneurs having 5 to 50 employees. From your experience, I mean, obviously you work in very large organizations. What is 1 or 2 small lessons or takeaways we should have in terms of retaining employee loyalty at the same time productivity? Obviously, for us, productivity is important, profitability is important, but yet, how do we ensure, what are the key 1 or 2 things that you would say is important for retaining employee loyalty and highest level of efficiency?
No, even in small organizations, if they see demonstration of ethics and human values actually being practiced, if you treat them like a member of your family and treat them with kindness, when they are, see, human beings, problems don't unfold in a linear way. You can make any number of manuals, you can write TCOCs, you can write, conduct discipline, appeal rules, all that is fine. But human problems happen in a non-linear way. I just give you through an example. I'll demonstrate. When I was in Taj West End, once one young boy came. I had recruited him as a receptionist, a very bright boy. His father was a fruit merchant in Shivaji Nagar, Bangalore. One day he came and he was standing outside and crying. I asked him, he was just 1 year old in the company, he was a 23-year-old guy. I asked somebody, why is he standing here? Sir, he went, his father is serious, he's admitted to the hospital. And the hospital has said he has had a mild heart attack and he has to be operated and he has to deposit some 10,000 rupees. This fellow doesn't have the money and he is the only son. Then I asked him, call him. He narrated the story and he said, sir, I went to HR department. They said your entitlement is only 4,000 rupees. We can give you 4,000 rupees maximum, make it 5,000 rupees. More than that, don't expect from us, you can go. So he says, with this 5,000 rupees, I can't do anything. It is not of any use. You don't have to give me anything. I have to deposit that 10,000. Only then I can rescue my father. It's a save the soul situation. Then I said, don't worry. I'll give you 12,000 rupees and another 2,000 rupees for buying medicine. But I'll tell you later how to recover. You go and collect the money. He went and collected the money and he treated his father and his father came back to normal activity. And this boy, after some time, he became a general manager. One day, I had forgotten this incident. One day, when I went to his hotel, he welcomed me and he was very, very happy. And he sat with me and, sir, can I have a cup of tea with you? I said, sit down, you're the general manager of the hotel. He said, sir, I'm in this company purely because of you. I said, don't say all this, yaar. You have done a good job, you got a promotion, you're working. And he narrated this story. That day when my father was brought home and he was all right and he was smiling, I decided I will live and die in this company, whatever happens. This company has a heart. They care for us. They take care of us. Come what may. So even in small businesses, if that attitude of genuinely caring for, today the same person is a senior vice president in Taj, this boy. He's still there. So caring for genuine problems. You see, you can't use a rule book when there's a crisis. Always this question comes up, if we do it for one, what about the other? That is the judicious discretion one has to exercise to create a humane environment in the organization. And a lot of companies do it. I'm not saying only Tata do it. Quite a few companies, TVS does it in its own way. Infosys does it, Wipro does it. There are quite a few companies. Small companies, when they start, bonding with employees like this, they become bigger and bigger. Even when it becomes bigger, you treat employees as though they're a part of your family. Treat them as though you're a small company. If you don't do that, you will become one. In other words, you will become a small company. When you're becoming bigger and bigger and bigger, treat employees, treat customers, treat shareholders as though you are small and you are very close to them. So it is the human values that one practices. It is the ethics that one practices. It is the capacity of listening, empathy one practices. It has a profound impact. Positive energy gets created through this.
Vinod, if I can just add, Prashant here, I have been witness to, I think in a few Taj hotels where HNS was with me, especially in Bangalore in Taj NG Road and Vivanta Residency Road, the regard people have, I have personally witnessed it, and I know that HNS has done a brilliant job, and they have such high regards. So I just wanted to mention that.
Absolutely,
Thank you.
absolutely. And all of us have a experience of being in some Taj enterprises or other, and we can absolutely understand everything that Srinivas said is applied in all these places. Thank you once again, Srinivas, for a wonderful talk. May I now request our President-elect Samir Gupta to propose the formal vote of thanks.
Good evening, President Vinod, Mr. Srinivas, friends. I would always generally start by saying that it's my pleasure to give a vote of thanks. But actually, it's a humbling experience today to give the vote of thanks. Listening to the experience, what you have had, the stories that you have shared about the 26th November. And I must add, I watched a movie recently, Hotel Mumbai, which has actually tried to dramatize this event of this intern. While that is interesting, I think the emotional value has come out today. When I listened to you, I could feel it was almost like we are sitting there, and going through every minute what happened there. And as you rightly said, these things can't be taught in a class or in a seminar or in a webinar. These are things the employees have learned with everyday living at the organization. I think that's an important lesson for all of us here, whether in our workplace or at Rotary, that we create an environment where all stakeholders, as you rightfully said in the beginning of when you started off with, selfless relationship with all stakeholders. I think this is a key takeaway which I am taking away from today. Tata values are inspirational, and thank you for motivating us. Thank you all. Good night.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Samir. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Mr. Srinivas, once again, thank you so much for a wonderful talk. We look forward to hearing from you more often and getting all those beautiful anecdotes and lessons from the Tata Group. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Rudy.
Thank you so much.